All right, welcome back to another episode of Chip Theory. Today I'm discussing another mode of the major scale. It's a Mixolydian mode. And here we have our chips laid out for the G Mixolydian mode. Here on the left we have the note G. And when it's, of course, split up like this, we have our group of three blue chips split up around about this way, where we have our F sharp or G flat at the top and our G on the far left. So we have G, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp or D flat, D sharp or E flat, E, F, and F sharp or G flat for our chromatic scale here. And the reason I have these laid out like this is to show the pattern for our Mixolydian mode in terms of half steps and whole steps. Now, the pattern for Mixolydian mode is a series of steps called, you have a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a half step, and a whole step. That's going to be your Mixolydian pattern. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. And if you notice that saying that same Mixolydian pattern coming down from the top, you have the Aeolian mode going up. So you have Aeolian, or the natural minor mode, is whole, half, whole, half, whole. That's going to be your Mixolydian mode in inverse. So if you can say your Mixolydian mode backwards, you can say your Aeolian mode. And if you can say your Aeolian mode ascending, you can say your Mixolydian mode descending. So those two patterns are inverse of each other. Mixolydian is whole, half, half, whole. And Aeolian is whole, half, half, whole. So if we know, like we know our natural minor scale going up, and if we can say that same pattern coming down, we know our Mixolydian mode going up, and vice versa. Okay, that's the first thing we want to realize when looking at the Mixolydian mode. The second thing we want to realize here about our G Mixolydian mode, if this is G down here, and this is this chip here is G, is the relative major key that our G Mixolydian mode is going to be derived from. So the way we figure that out, G is going to be the Mixolydian mode is the fifth mode of the major scale. So of course it goes Ionian is 1, Dorian is 2, Phrygian is the third one, Lydian is the fourth one, and Mixolydian is the fifth mode. And the fifth mode of the major scale generally is known to be the mode that has a flat 7 scale degree for the when you compare the G Mixolydian mode to the G major scale. It's going to have that flat 7 note, and I'll show that here in a little bit. However, firstly we want to figure out what is the note that we are relative major to. So we can count up either 5 half steps up or 7 half steps down to find out what note G is the fifth of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we have C. Again, it's helpful if you can memorize those. So you know, G is the fifth of C, right? And of course, if it's the fifth of C, you know from this direction, you know that if you invert this, it's going to be the fourth of, right? Because that equals 9, or, if it's a fourth this way, it's a fifth this way. Or a fourth is 5 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps. Below is going to be 7 from above, right? Because there's 12 half steps in the octave. We have 7 half steps down So there will be 5 from this direction. And of course, 5 half steps is just a perfect fourth. Okay, so we could, this is a C, so we could just play the F major scale. I'm sorry, this is G, the G major scale, in the key of C to arrive at our G Mixolydian mode. Or we could use our pattern of whole and half steps, which is simply the Aeolian pattern descending or inverse to reach the ascending Mixolydian mode. So whole, whole, here's a half step, then a whole, whole, half, and then the final whole step will be here from F, G, another whole step. Again, when you say that same pattern descending, you have the Aeolian mode. Whole, half, whole, half, whole, whole in this direction. And when you come from this direction, you have the Mixolydian mode. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. Okay, this leaves us with our notes. Let's take out the chips that are not in the Mixolydian mode of G. Okay, we have the notes G, A, B, C, D, E. Here's a 7th note. Now in G major, if we were to compare this to a G major scale, G would be sharped, right? F would be sharped. 1 sharp in G major. So what we have here is essentially the F sharp flatted to an F natural. Okay? So our flat 7 is here on F natural. So we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Again, those are going to be all white keys on the piano. So we have the white chips. And again, the pattern was whole, half, whole, half, whole. Again, it's going to be a little difficult to see, but if we move our degrees like this, if we call this C here, C was our 4th chip from G. We had G, A, B, and C. So C is our relative major. So if we move the relative major here, we can number these. C would be 1, D is 2, E would be 3, F would be 4, and G is your 5th degree. Now G is going to be our Mixolydian mode, right? So in G Mixolydian, we're relative to C major again. A is going to be 6, and B would be 7. So I recommend you number your scale degrees. We're just simply numbering the C major scale. C1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, and B is 7. That way when we move back to our Mixolydian position here, starting on 5 scale degree, we can move C, D, E, F to this side. We have scale degree 5, 6, and 7, right? Root 2, 3, and 4. Again, it's very helpful to remember the numbers because, as you can tell, all these look the same when you're playing all white keys. So it's helpful to remember the numbers. If 5, 6, and 7, you're starting on G with your 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, 4 scale degrees. Okay? Realizing this, in Mixolydian, we're going to have the first triad is going to be on the 5th scale degree, 5, 7, and 2 of C, of a relative major. Again, C is on the 4th degree. So we have 5, 7, 2, G, B, D, which is major. So again, the scale degrees are 6, root 3. And again, these scale degrees will go for all your Mixolydian modes. So if we can remember, the chord of the 5, 5, 7, 2 on the first position, 6, root 3, that will be helpful in remembering what triad goes where in Mixolydian mode. Again, 6, root 3 of C is going to be A, C, and E. A minor. The third position triad in Mixolydian is the 7-2-4. Again, 7-2-4 is always diminished in major keys. C is going to be B, D, and F. 7-2-4. Here's our relative major, root 3, 5, C, E, and G. Here on the fourth position of Mixolydian. Two, 4, and 6 on the fifth position. Again, this is going to be your D, F, A. It's very helpful to remember our scale degrees here. 2, 4, and 6 is D, F, A of C major. 2, 4, 6 are our numbers there. On the fifth position of Mixolydian, it's a minor triad. D, F, and A. Again, the sixth position chord here is the 3, 5, 7 minor chord of C, E, G, and B. 3, 5, 7. Finally, the last position chord is your flat 7 starting on the F. Remember, we flatted the F sharp to F here. So we have the 4, the 6, and the root. F, A, C. So you have a flat 7 major triad. F, A, C. Or scale degrees 4, 6, and a root. Okay? So again, realizing our relative major here is on the fourth position, the C. We have our 5, 6, 7 root, 2, 3, 4 scale degrees. Again, the qualities of those were major, minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, and major. Okay, so using the same principle of alternating scale tones, we can build 7 chords from our G Mixolydian scale by using the alternating scale tones. Now again, the scale degrees are going to be 5, 7, 2, and 4 of a relative major. 5, 7, 2, 4 is dominant 7 chord, right? Those numbers, 5, 7, 2, 4 in all major keys. If we use those scale degrees, the 5, 7, 2, 4 chord of every scale in major is a dominant 7 chord. And the dominant 7 chord has a 4-3-3 spacing. Here we're starting on G. So if we take G to B, or the 7 of C, we have 2 whole steps. And from G, you have G and B, and from B to D is 3 half steps. That's your 7 to 2 scale degree. Okay, F to D is 3 half steps. That's wrong. D to F, excuse me. No, it's 7 to 2. That's going to be F to what is it, 7 to 2? And C. B to D. B to D is 3 half steps, okay? And it is going to have a 1 plus 2, right? Because B to C is 1 half step, and C to D is 2 half steps. So that's a minor third with a 1 plus 2 format, right? And then up here, between D and F, you have a 2 plus 1 format, right? This is your scale degrees 2 and 4, or D to F. So D to E is 2 half steps, and E to F is 1 half step. So that's a 2 plus 1. And again, this format will hold for every 5-7-2-4 dominant 7 chord. You're going to have a major third here, or 2 whole steps between the second interval of the third and fifth of the chord. You're going to have a minor third, which is a half step plus a whole step, and here you have a minor third, which is a whole step plus a half step. So 1 plus 2, 2 plus 1 for every single 5-7-2-4 chord. So let's remember our 5-7-2-4 dominant 7 format. In this case, we have G, B, D, and F in 5-7-2-4 of C, our relative major. All right, our second chord is going to be the 6, and of course the scale degrees, that goes for every chord in the keys, right? Every scale degree chord, we're going to have 6 root, 3, and 5, and it's the same way. If we remember the format of those scale degrees, we know them for all of our major keys. So 6 root 3, 5, and C is going to be A, C, E, and G. 6 root 3, 5 is going to be on the second position of G Mixolydian. Okay, G being the 5th degree and A being the 6th degree. So our 6 root 3, 5 is a minor 7, which is going to be a 3-4-3 spacing. Minor third, major third, minor third. Okay, and the first minor third is a 2 plus 1 spacing. A to C. You have A to B as 2 half steps, and B to C as 1. So we have a 2 plus 1 here for our 6 root 3, 5 chord. All right, and between the 3 and the 5 up here, you have a 1 plus 2. Right? Always. Every 6 root 3, 5 is going to have that format. 2 plus 1 and a 1 plus 2. In this case, you have between E and G. E to F is 1 and F to G is 2. But no matter what key you're in, it's always going to have that format. In major, for major keys. Again, the third position chord was our 7-2-4-6. 7-2-4 is diminished. We add our 6 and it's half diminished. Okay, because between 4 and 6 is a major third for all keys. Okay, so we have here B, D, F, and A. Again, 7-2-4-6 is half diminished. We have a major third here between F and A, between the 4 and the 6 of C, F and A. Here we have between B and D is a 1 plus 2, and between D and F is 2 plus 1. And of course our major third over that diminished triad, giving us a half diminished chord. 7-2-4-6, or in this case, B half diminished. B, D, F, and A. All right, our fourth position chord is a major 7. This is our relative major, okay? Root 3, 5, and 7 of C. C, E, G, and B, of course, is a major 7 chord. On the fourth position here, we have a 1 plus 2 for our minor third. It's a 4-3-4 spacing. Major third, minor third, major third, like all major 7 chords have. And we have here a 1 plus 2 in the middle for the minor third here. Between the third and the fifth is always a 1 plus 2. E to F is 1, and F to G is 2. 1 plus 2. It's a minor third. Here on the fifth position, we have a 2-4-6 root chord, D, F, A, C. D, F, A, C, E, G, B. 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 D, F, A, Again, the 2, 4, 6 root scale degrees are always a minor 7. It's a 3, 4, 3 spacing. However, they're different. The 2, 4, 6 root is different than the 6 root 3, 5 minor 7 right here. The 6 root 3, 5 had a 2 plus 1 and a 1 plus 2. And it's still a minor 7, a 3, 4, 3 spacing. However, the format's slightly different because the 2, 4, 6 root chord has both 2 plus 1s for its minor thirds. Again, that's going to hold true for all the 2, 4, 6 root chords in every major key. So we have D, F, A, C. Between D and F, you have D to E is 2 half steps, and E to F is 1. And between A and C, A to B is 2, and B to C is 1. Okay? And that will hold true across all the modes and all the major keys, right? Your 3 chord here on the 6th position, you have a 3, 5, 7, 2, E, G, B, D, E minor. Again, I know it's hard to see because these are all similar looking notes. They're all the white keys on the keyboard. We don't have any sharps or flats here. But it's important to realize the scale degrees. We have 3, 5, 7, 2 of C. E, G, B, and D. Again, this is a minor 7 chord. Exactly similar in spacing to this chord on the 5 position and the chord on the 2 position, which are both 3, 4, 3 spacings as well. So these three are all 3, 4, 3 minor 7 chords. However, they all three have slightly different formats because the 3, 5, 7, 2, both minor thirds have 1 plus 2 spaced intervals. So between 3 and 5, E and G, you have E to F is 1 half step, and F to G is 2. And here between 7 and 2 of C, you have B to C is 1, and C to D is 2. So these are both 1 plus 2 minor thirds. On this chord, they were 2 plus 1s, and on this chord, there was a 2 plus 1 on the bottom and a 1 plus 2 on the top for these minor 7 chords. All the same spacing, all 3, 4, 3s in slightly different formats. So if we can remember that, we know it'll help remember our scale. And if we take into account the position, here are minor thirds in Mixolydian are on the 2 position, 5 position, and the 6 position of Mixolydian mode. Again, our flat 7 chord here, finally, is a 4, 6 root 3. It's a major 7 chord. F, A, C, and E. Again, this is the 4 chord of C major here in the 7th position of G Mixolydian. 4, 6 root 3. It's going to have a 2 plus 1 for its minor third. 4, 3, 4 spacing. Okay, so our chords here are a G dominant 7, a 4, 3, 3, okay, a minor 7, a half diminished 7, the relative major, C major 7, a D minor 7, E minor 7, and a flat 7, F major 7. Okay, and let's look at the inversions of these chords. Now, assuming our scale degrees will never change, and they're all in their correct positions. Remember, we had 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, and 4 in the Mixolydian position. We can talk about the inversions of these chords with respect to their interval qualities, right? So here we have a dominant 7. It's a 4, 3, 3, starting on G, G, B, D, and F. Here, we invert it, we have the 3-3-2 position, starting on B, B, D, F, G, to a 3-2-4, starting on D, E, F, G, B, to our 2-4-3 inversion, which is F, G, B, D. Coming down is D, B, G, F, B, G, F, D, G, F, D, B, and F, D, B, G, or G dominant 7. Again, the dominant 7 here is on the 1 position of Mixolydian mode. So known as the dominant 7 mode, and it has a flat 7 for its 7th degree of this scale. Or it's the 4 scale degree of your relative measure. Okay, here's our 2 chord. It's a minor 7, 3-4-3 spacing. A, C, E, and G. When we invert this, we have a 4-3-2 starting on C, C, E, G, A, to our 3-2-3 starting on E, E, G is 3, G to A is 2, and A to C is 3, 3-2-3, to our 2-3-4 starting on G, G, A, C, E. Coming down is E, C, A, G, C, A, G, E, A, G, E, C, and G, E, C, A for our A minor 7. Here's our 3rd chord. It's the half diminished chord, 7-2-4-6 scale degrees. It's a 3-3-4 spacing. B, D, F, A. B, D, F, A, 3-3-4. Invert this. We have a 3-4-2 starting on D, D, F, A, B, to our 4-2-3 starting on F, A, B, D, to our 2-3-3 starting on A, B, D, and F. Moving down is F, D, B, A, D, B, A, F, B, A, F, D, and A, F, D, B. Our 4th position is a major 7, C, E, G, B, 4-3-4, to a 3-4-1 starting on E, E, G, B, C, or 4-1-4 starting on G, G, B, C, E, to our 1-4-3 starting on B, B, C, E, G. Coming down is G, E, C, B, E, C, B, G, and C, B, G, E. The root position, B, G, E, C. Our 5 chord was a 2-4-6 root minor 7, D, F, A, C, a 3-4-3 spacing. When we invert this, we have a 4-3-2 starting on F, F, A, C, D, to a 3-2-3 starting on A, C, D, F, to a 2-3-4 starting on C, C, D, F, A. Coming down is A, F, D, C, F, D, C, A, D, C, A, F, and C, A, F, D. Our 6th position chord was the 3-5-7-2, E minor 7, a 3-4-3 spacing, E, G, B, D, to a 4-3-2 spacing, G, B, D, E, to a 3-2-3, B, D, E, G, to the 2-3-4, D, E, G, B. Coming down is B, G, E, D, G, E, D, B, E, D, B, G, and D, B, G, E. And finally, our flat 7 chord was a 4-6 root third, major 7 chord, or flat 7, F, A, C, and E, and 4-3-4 spacing. When we invert this, we have a 3-4-1, A, C, E, F, to a 4-1-4, C, E, F, A, and a 1-4-3, E, F, A, C. Coming down is C, A, F, E, A, F, E, C, F, E, C, A, and E, C, A, F. Those are going to be the chords of G Mixolydian. You have a G dominant 7, A minor 7, B half diminished, C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, and a flat 7, F major 7. And those are your chords of G Mixolydian mode.